Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Nebius group. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been focusing here on this idea of an initial three-wave move that has formed to the upside, and yeah, it is pretty difficult to even consider this anything else than a three-wave structure, unfortunately. Which is why we have been focusing here even on a bullish scenario on a larger leading diagonal to be forming, where we would be tracking now a third wave to the upside, since we did manage to hold here the area of support for a wave 2 correction, and we have it in green here because this also applies for one of the other interpretations that we will get to in a moment. Now, in this orange interpretation, we would expect to form a larger ABC structure within the wave 3, and within this wave A, we would expect to form either a 3-wave move to the upside or a 5-wave move. So there are no severe restrictions in terms of or for this initial movement to the upside in a wave A, but after the correction in a wave B, we would certainly expect to have a 5-wave structure within the wave C to the upside. Now, for this to be a decent probability interpretation, I would likely still need this to be an initial 5-wave move to the upside, yeah? Otherwise, I could be looking for just a larger structure within this larger trend as a WXY. Yeah, this could be done. We wouldn't need any additional highs, although unfortunately this does also fit within the other scenario that allows actually for us to track a completion once we have here this 5-wave structure complete. Now, in this white scenario, we are actually tracking an initial wave A to the upside instead, where we would have afterwards a wave B and a wave C to be unfolding, once which we would have a complete structure. Yeah, we would need no additional waves for this pattern to the upside to be complete, the same way we wouldn't need any additional waves for this ABC structure to be complete within a wave 1, but could be part of a larger corrective pattern that could honestly even take us to new all-time lows. Yeah, nothing is really stopping it, nothing is really preventing it from forming such structures. Now, this is where the company fundamentals and outlook for the future comes in and not necessarily chooses, but morphs the market sentiment and shifts from one scenario to another. So yeah, this could turn into something much more bullish, but unfortunately there is no severely high probability pattern for a continued uptrend within this area. Yeah, sure, we can track even in the white scenario a larger uptrend to be forming, but we don't have here an initial 5-wave move to the upside on a larger scale to look for a 3-wave correction. That would be a very interesting area for a trade setup. Now, with that said, internally within these structures, we would still be able to find patterns and opportunities here and there, although, yeah, restricted from a larger time frame perspective. Now, internally within this structure, I am tracking an impulse to be formed within this area in this wave C. Now, keep in mind, this could also form a wave A to the upside, and within this structure, although yeah, the difference is that wave A could already be complete, but yeah, now getting back to this continuation higher, within this structure, I would consider the wave 1, 2, and 3 complete, and I would now be focusing on the correction here for a wave 4. Now, we would have here this entire area of support between the $87.5 level all the way down to the $51 level. So far, we already have a 3-wave move to the downside, and technically, I don't actually need any additional lows for us to consider this pattern complete. Unfortunately, we may even be able to track here a larger leading diagonal that has formed in this area. Yeah, nothing is really stopping us. Although, yeah, I would probably prefer, to be honest, the idea of an ABC structure within this area, where realistically, I could consider a bottom for this wave 4 already in place, and I could start looking here for a 5th wave to the upside. Now, we could even consider possibly an extension here within this wave 3, although that is a very low probability scenario for me, as we have already quite a substantial wave 4 correction, and sure, this could have worked out as a 1, 2, and then have this as a 3rd wave up, 4th wave down, and then a 5th wave, but it is probably not a too relevant scenario, and I would much rather focus on this wave 3 already being in place. Now, from this time frame perspective, I really don't have any other expectations. I could see the pattern complete, I could see continuation lower, which is why in this interpretation, we are going to track a possible larger ABC structure here within a yellow scenario that would allow us to watch here the resistance levels that serve two purposes. So here we have the levels between the $95.5 level all the way up to the $123 level at the 78.6% retracement. If broken above, it would be a signal. It would also serve this purpose of being a signal that this structure is, rather likely than not going to extend and continue in this uptrend in a fifth wave. And then it would also serve as an area to look for potential difficulties getting through, where we may find a more significant top within an internal wave in this area and continue in a wave C to the downside, extending basically this wave 4, where we can already notice that with our first push into this area, and this actually happened today, we got to the 38.2% retracement, the first level of resistance, and we have already gotten our rejection. So yes, internally we are going to track this area for a likely potential larger correction within a wave B that could be unfolding in a number of different ways. Now, if I were to be tracking here in internally this movement to the upside, I would probably even start looking for a potential impulse to form within this area, where I would consider this to be a 1, 2 and the third wave complete. And I will actually even go ahead and track such a structure, where now I would like to see a wave 4 correction and a fifth wave to the upside, where if we manage to build such a structure, I would be very, very interested in a potential trade setup within this area on this smaller time frame. Now, if we actually even build this structure, we would likely even get afterwards back into the area of support. Not guaranteed, sure. We may not get that large of a wave 2, but it would be a very interesting area, and we will have an internal area of support to be tracking. And in this case, if I were to assume the wave 3 top already being in place, and I would be looking for the wave 4 correction, I would be watching here the levels between the $91 all the way down to the $86 level at the not the 78, the 50% retracement. Where as long as we manage to hold these levels, we can still look for continuation higher within a fifth wave in this area. Now, we can already see that there was a more significant push to the downside, and we haven't quite touched here this area of support. So I would be very much prepared for another push lower. Now, we won't be tracking even internally the structure, this ABC movement too much, but we can have an internal area of resistance for such a pattern. And this would be, again, for a possible ABC structure, could be a WXY, but honestly, we won't be looking at the details within this time frame. We will only be focusing really on the actual levels for the continuation lower, where a break above the 78.6% retracement would be a signal that we should probably have a slight preference for a direct continuation higher. Although within such a small time frame, I urge you to not look too much at the details. Sure, we might not get into this area of support, but this is not the interesting trade setup for us anyway. What is interesting is this structure once we actually have these 5 waves to the upside and we get our larger correction. This is the interesting area after we get our 3-wave correction into a larger area of support for a wave 2, which would suggest that with high likelihood we should expect another 5-wave move to the upside, at least in a larger ABC structure. Yeah, sure, if we don't push directly here in a 5th wave, in this larger wave 5 from the larger time frame and form here a larger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we could at least expect on the smaller scale a larger ABC structure to be formed, and that is why we are interested in that specific initial 5-wave move to the upside. It could form the 1-2 setup of a larger movement in this 5th wave in white, but it would at least be expected with high probability to be a larger wave A of this larger wave B in the yellow scenario. And for now we can move here on the larger time frame, where I would like to point out that unfortunately here a break below the 50% retracement would not mean a clear complete breakdown of this entire uptrend. It would, however, mean that this wave A has likely topped within the orange interpretation and that we would have to discard the white scenario. And in that case, we would still have here a quite significant area of support at the levels between the $58.5 all the way down to the 78.6% retracement at the $23 level. And for now, there really isn't much else to add. You have all the details that are to be in focus, all the relevant levels that we want to be tracking. Now, again, we do have still in this area this orange interpretation, but we will be keeping those on the background as we are focusing right now on the white scenario that can still allow us to get another high to new all-time high territory. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.